The new Roadster is kind of dessert. It does have some value, and it's like if this can really outperform, say, the best Ferrari or Lamborghini or McLaren on every level, then that would finally erase any halo effect that exists for gasoline cars. So the new Roadster would be is designed to outdo by a long shot, crushingly good relative to the next best gasoline sports car. We're going to do some things with the new Roadster that are kind of unfair to other cars. This is really just taking the SpaceX coal gas thrusters and sticking them in a car. We know they work. We use them in the rocket. There's a whole basement full of test equipment that we try out different powertrains mostly in this building. There's like a lot of exciting technology coming down the pike, but our primary focus right now is just making sure that Tesla is in a good financial condition, that we're producing at high rate for the Model 3 especially, and getting the cars delivered, improving manufacturing efficiency, output, staying on track with the Shanghai Gigafactory and the Model Y. The Model Y is going back to my point, the Model Y it's much roomier inside than it appears. Yeah, a lot of people think it looks not that much bigger than a Model 3. It's intended to not look big. Like, I think the mark of a good design is for a vehicle is that it feels much bigger on the inside than it looks on the outside. Going from the S to the X, we made so many changes. It was the S to the X. Model X to the Model X, Model S to the Model X was intended to have a lot of carryover, but we put so much new technology, and the amount of hubris we put into the Model X was really astounding. The car is made of hubris. We put a lot of effort into that Model S door handle. I love it. I think like the Model X has the coolest doors. Like, people know about the Falcon wing doors, the doors that sort of open up like wings. And by the way, those doors actually have a different opening arc depending upon what's around them. So if there's nothing around them, we optimize the opening arc to be as beautiful as possible, for the actual movement to be as balletic as possible. And it'll only veer from the most beautiful movement if there's something close by, in which case it will change its movement arc to avoid the obstacle. It's insane. That door is insane. But the door that actually will be is the most that you will notice the most on a day-to-day basis is the front doors. It's actually doing radio triangulation on the Bluetooth receiver on your key, and calculating that you're walking towards the car in a way that suggests intent to enter. So it won't open the door if you walk parallel to the car. It won't open the door if you walk to the trunk or to the hood. It'll only open the door if you walk to where you'd want to enter the car. It'll open the door just before you get there, and then you sit down. You never touch the door. You tap the brake pedal to start the car, and the door closes. The X ended up being a radical departure from the S. The only things that were in common were the drive units and the battery pack, really, and the center display. Like, there's really everything else changed. We have that sort of helicopter cockpit windscreen in the front, the doors you talked about. The rear seats were insanely difficult to do, to hide the tracks in the floor, so that when you open the Falcon wing doors and you look across, you see an absolutely clean silhouette with a monopost seat. But it was insanely difficult to do. With Model Y, we wanted to avoid the technology bandwagon that we had with the X, where it should have been easy going from S to X, and instead it was hell because there was so many new technology, and we didn't want that to be the case, and it'd be too risky for the company to do that with the Y. So we've tried to make the car as similar to the 3 as possible, except to the degree that a change is necessary to achieve SUV functionality. So you need to be able to sit 7 people and have a higher ride height, more cargo capacity, while still having a low drag coefficient and not increase the frontal area too much, and so that the range, basically CDA, direct coefficient frontal area, and mass are close enough to the 3 that the range is only affected by, let's say, 8 to 10% or something. The CDA is worse with the Y because the cross-sectional area is higher. There are some manufacturing improvements for the Y. The rear underbody, we're moving to an aluminum casting instead of a series of stamped steel and aluminum pieces. But it drops from initially it will be 2 castings, and it'll go from 70 parts to 2, and then 70 parts to 2 plus joiners. When we get the big casting machine, it'll go from 70 parts to 1, with a reduction in weight and an improvement in MBH and a reduction in cost and a significant drop in the capital expenditure required for all the robots that would otherwise be necessary to put those 70 parts together. I intentionally didn't go all out with the Model Y reveal because I didn't want to convince people to buy a Y instead of a 3. If everyone just decided, okay, we'll just buy a Y instead of a 3, then we wouldn't have any customers. We wouldn't be able to float the company. So, so I was kind of like medium in presenting the Y. But I think when people get it, the reaction will be better than they think. And it's really just like if you want an SUV and are prepared to accept a slight cost increase and a slight range decrease, then that's great. The advantage of a sedan is it's going to cost a little bit less and it'll have a little more range. Right now, our default plan actually is to produce the Y at Fremont. And I was skeptical about whether this made sense at first, but my team convinced me that this is actually the fastest way to get to volume production is to do the Y at Fremont. We're optimizing for speed of execution, and on balance, it seemed like we could get things done faster if we did it in Fremont. It does seem as though we have the room, and we can do so without disrupting the Model 3 production or S Next production. Autonomy is for sure the priority. Just a car becomes dramatically more valuable when autonomous versus not. It probably increases. I think it increases in value by maybe a factor of 5 or something crazy. Or just think of if you can earn $30,000 a year from a car, and say you could basically make a pretty good return even on a Model S or a Model X. It's not like we could make a $20,000 car and are just arbitrarily choosing not to. We do not know how to make that. It's insanely difficult to make an electric car at a price, at a price at the same level as a gasoline car and have the same features and functionality. Gasoline cars have had trillions of dollars, literally trillions, and 150 years to refine internal combustion engine technology. In the 70s, it wasn't even obviously you could start your car. You go to your car and it's turn the key, it doesn't always start. Today that would be super weird. But you have all these old movies where the murderer is chasing you with an axe. Will the car start? Vast amounts of R&D and tremendous scale economies have gone into making gasoline cars low cost. It's nutty how little they cost given how complicated they are. So it just takes time for electric cars to get there. And you say, how many versions have gasoline cars been through? 20? And we're basically on, from a Tesla standpoint, we're on version 3 of the technology. But with autonomy, I think that makes the economics of buying a car dramatically different. You can get sort of a Model 3 lease. You can lease it for $400 a month, maybe finance it for $450 or $500 a month, and say okay, So that's basically, maybe a little over $100 a week. And how many rides would you have to have an autonomous car give to make $100 in a week? Very few. Like if it just spent, a few hours giving rides, you've like made your lease payment. So for a few hours per week, and so then who can't afford that? Like, well, as long as you're willing to let your car do rides, like anyone can afford it really. And in fact, it would be a moneymaker. So instead of, so you could be like an Uber or Lyft driver driving one car, or you could be manage a fleet of cars, and where each of those cars is earning money for you, and you could manage like 10 cars or 20 cars or something. And that's just going to be way better. And then you're sort of more like a shepherd tending a flock. You're not the sheep. So that seems like a way better thing to do than to always be driving the car. And so I think that's definitely what people will choose to do, is just operate a small fleet, and it's like a little business basically. You've got to be able to get a really great truck for $49,000 or less, and it's just got to have incredible functionality from a load carrying standpoint, look amazing, but it won't look like a normal truck. So it's going to look pretty sci-fi. That means it's not going to be for everyone. Like if somebody just wants to have a truck that just looks like trucks have looked for the last 20 years, then 30 years or 40 years, then this probably isn't for them. It's going to be a truck that is more capable than other trucks. Like it'll be a better truck than say an equivalent. Like the goal is like be a better truck than an F-150 in terms of truck-like functionality, and be a better sports car than a standard 911. That's the aspiration. When we unveil this thing, there'll be some number of people are like, "Oh, that doesn't look like a truck. I don't want to buy it." When they came out with automobiles, like people were like, "Oh, I like a horse and carriage." You can stick with your horse and carriage, but you're going to get an automobile later. They just don't know it. I think the Semi will be a very big part of Tesla's business, as will the pickup truck. They're very important fundamental use cases. So I think like we've got to, at least have one, what we think is an amazing product in all of the key use cases. So, kind of full-size sedan, full-size SUV, mid-size sedan, mid-size SUV, pickup truck, and Semi for commercial trucking. These are very fundamental. There's very few products out there that bring you joy. There's just very few. It's like, how many products out there can you buy that you really love? It's very rare. That's our goal, is to make the car, have the car make you as happy as possible.